Or... Okay, good.
Hi, Annette. Thank you for joining our book club.
Thank you for having me online.
So we are meeting on a Monday morning, and you said straight away that you are working on a new book.
Yes.
Does this mean that you have really great self-discipline, that you wake up on a Monday morning and straight away you're doing it?
I'm a person who sits in a nightgown and thinking about it. And, most of my books are written in a nightgown, with a house coat thinking, calling people and saying, I don't know what I'm doing, because I don't work with plot cards at all. I work with dreams and things coming to me through an open window, telling me, this and this. Maybe I have 2 or 3 things that I start out with the book, but it's always like it emerges. Sometimes like this book, the new book, it's like last week I found out, oh, that's why. So I am actually an explorer as well. And that's the fun part of writing. That is that I don't know. I'm thinking, well, that's exciting. Is that going to happen? Of course, at one point you got to be the master puppeteer and thinking, how is this all going to be connected? Of course, but I like that it is like going on an exploration in a way with a sea map of something, and just thinking, I know this, but what is it that's hidden? Because it's almost like you are writing with the universe. There's something coming back. It's really mysterious in a way. But I
Yeah.
always have some things, like with this Palermo. Yeah, because Palermovej. You're using it's always ahead. It's translated into these 2 books are translated into 27 languages. So it's always so it's amazing, but it's always so strange which one how you're going to translate it. But this is yours with Eva's wonderful translation. I heard. But this one, which was my first book, is actually also really based on my own family.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was a musician for many, many years. And between the songs, my songs are very sad, but I thought we got to have some sense of humor. And I really inherited a sense of humor from my mother, my late mother, and my grandmother. They were tough cookies, but they were also had a really good sense of humor. And I just love to laugh, and I love to make people laugh, and I love to, get something to laugh about, so, and also to cry about, but you got to have laughter. So in between my sad songs, I started these. I was a musician, a songwriter for 25 years or something, and I was living in the United States and traveling around and playing for a horse or a bartender and sometimes a lot of people. But I started to tell stories about my family, and which is a pretty crazy family. We all have crazy families, I think. Lovely, but pretty crazy. So when I stopped playing music, not stopped, but stopped performing, I was a little tired of it in a way. I had all these stories. So the first one, Palermo, is actually very much based on my own mother, my own grandmother, my own father, my sister. Things I have tried in life. So people say, "Who is going to believe this?" But a lot of it is actually just true. Maybe not about the hippo, but you don't know.
So at this point in your life when you decided to perform less, and how did you get into writing? Like, did you know straight away that now I'm going to write a novel about my family, or did you have the confidence to go fully into it, or were you just like, oh, I'm just going to do it for myself, or?
I don't know if you know that feeling of sometimes I think I don't have any confidence at all, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm a complete disorganized mess who just want to have a glass of wine and go swimming with my friends, and just a mess. I don't have, in a way, I'm not born with discipline. I never had a steady work for half a year when I was 26. Otherwise, I've been creating my own work because I just don't like steady work. But now, when it demands that you have to dive into it. So I have perseverance.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit different than discipline in a way, because it comes from something inside of you, I know there's something there, but maybe it's not from 8 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I definitely did not know that I was going to that. Yeah, maybe I did, because also when I was 7 years old and I was starting at school and we were going to write these essays, the first essays, they were always about my family. I didn't care what subject, maybe they said something, write something completely different. And I always came with these stories about my family. And they said, it's well written, but it was not the subject, so you don't get a really good grade because it was not the essay. But so I've always been occupied with my family in a way. What is it that a family can hold? Because a family can hold so many things. It is in the best and the worst, and sometimes you have both, you have the best and the worst family in one family. You can sometimes contain somebody who is completely opposite of your own opinions and your own way of looking at things. And that's something we really need in this world, especially right now, where people they just want to believe what they want to believe. But in a family, that doesn't fly in a way. You have to hold that. So I knew that I had some kind of mission with that family thing. And some days I thought, I'm going to write a fantastic novel. It's going to be, worldwide. And the next day I thought, who's going to read this book? So I think I have a lot of perseverance and steady believing in myself, living side by side with a little girl in a nightgown who doesn't know what she's doing. And I think doubt can be good. It's also hard, but it can be good because you keep on coming back. No, it's not right. No. And therefore it takes me a while to get into the story. I think all the books I've been writing, 800 pages. And then I start, and I thought, okay, the 400 pages, these are the ones, So it's a big job for one who
Yeah.
doesn't like steady jobs.
Yeah, because I was thinking that like you in your life, you have this artistic but also ADHD vibe that you like a lot of things and you get excited about a lot of things.
You know what I want to call it, because we all have this new diagnosis.
Yeah.
I like to call it popcorn.
Yeah.
I got a popcorn brain. And
Yeah.
then all artists, they have to have a popcorn brain, put it in and let it fly, and then see how beautiful it is. It's like a firework, we don't have to get any pills for it. We just got to write the book,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and also like in the book, a lot of things are happening, like here, and I'm the same. I get excited about so many different things, and I was just I just like knowing that you have this popcorn brain, this glorious popcorn brain. Like, how do you get to 400 pages, and how do you get to 500 pages? I was reading, I was enjoying, and at the same time, I had this mad respect. I was like, oh my God, she put in the hours, she did the work. That just seems really hard with all these ideas flying around.
I'm so happy that you appreciate that. That actually means a lot to me, because right now when I'm finishing the last book, it's like a race against time. I only write with these two fingers. I actually broke my left arm a while back, and I thought that's good, because I don't need the left arm, cut it off as long as I can. No, but as long as I can use these two fingers, I'll gallop, So it's right route. I mean, it is a tall order. It really is. And sometimes it's driving me a little crazy, because I love details. I'm a little Virgo head who likes details. And they got to have this little dish. It's like a pastry shop. I want to show this and this, but then it also has to be connected,
Yeah.
So it takes, you don't do much more, and then you go with your friends, and then you swim, and occasionally you have a glass of wine on somewhere in the summer. But it is a lot of work. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you started your first book, Do you remember writing the beginning of it? Like, was it, did you try different drafts, or did you already know how you will start? What is going to be the first sentence? Who is going to be the first, like, scene and so on?
I was writing a long time. I didn't know how to write a novel. I was a songwriter. So I used to have 8 lines.
Yeah.
And all the lines had to be, I think that is also what's haunting me and also blessing me in a way, that because I was a songwriter, all the 8 lines have to be completely as I wanted them. So now I want to have 400 pages of 8 lines that you actually can sing. I feel like sometimes I'm reading it aloud, but back to your question, that I started at a completely different place with the twins, because that's me in a way, and it's also me. The 2 twins are actually me, one side of me, the one who didn't succeed, and the other side of me who occasionally really did succeed. And it's also my oldest friend that I have had since I was 2 years old. And she's always in the book. She's always, that's Olga, so, and I'm Esther, but sometimes I'm also Olga. So I knew that I had this with the girls about succeeding in art and not succeeding. And I had this about my mother, who can see into the future, which is my real mother. So I had these characters, and the grandmother, which is my real grandmother. She was not from St. Petersburg, but she was from another little called Vordingborg in Denmark, which is different. But so I had the family, but to start a book, I didn't understand it. So I had a friend, my friend Klaus Manny, who I couldn't write the book without him. He has helped me understand, how do you write a book? Because I wanted to have 100 hippopotamuses, and he said, maybe you should settle for one. He was sort of holding me down in a good
wet blanket.
Yes, a blanket over this. So he was sort of telling me, and every time I just wanted to write something new, he said, but you can't just write something. I had, for instance, this with the hippo, and that was before it was a real circus. It was just something they read in the paper. They read about this. He said, you can't have this beautiful story, and then you read it in the paper and they move along. You gotta put up the circus. And he taught me how to put up, how to put up, put up the tent and let the audience or the reader move into it. And that's a big lesson for me. So that I understood, if I start out with the grandmother and the grandfather story about love, this is a way to do it. I tried a lot of different things. It took me almost 7 years to write the first one. I did a lot of it. At that point, I was also a songwriter, but it took me 7 years to move around all these bits and pieces. Where do they sort of, and something, you can't just take everything of what you experienced in life. You got to throw something out as well. But the first line is really important. So that I didn't have for a long time. And I don't know how it's translated, but it's sort of, that the first time the sister dies. And I thought, this is good, because now we have this, we know there's something sad going to happen, and it's also a little magical or whatever. Can you die more than once? And then I could put all what I really, really love about life, all the magical stuff, not just as family, but all the magical things, the way we interact with the universe and the universe with us, so then I knew, I wanna read that story myself. So it took me a while. I'm not one with first draft. I have meticulously some scenes where everything is connected, and I'm putting all the little golden things on the Christmas tree. And then the next one, there's not even a floor in the house, So when people say, so you have your first draft, I'm just laughing. No, no, but I have the ending, and I have this, and I have that. So that also took a while, but the first line is always important, I think, because this is the way you invite. We know that as a reader, do you want to read this book or not? Yeah. Our, like the other one, the Mr. Saito book that's just came out. As well. It has this about I was conceived on a dance floor in Buenos Aires in 1927, and I didn't have that for a long time. But when I had it, I thought, I want to go on that adventure. And then I put it first in the book, and then I could move along, you know. So the first line is really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you want people know if this is a book. Some people will say, God, good heavens, I don't want to read a book about being conceived on a dance floor. No, let me read something else. Then it's almost like a disclaimer in a good way for the reader. Don't spend time on this, or somebody will say, this is what I was looking for, you know.
Yeah, I teach creative writing in university and so on.
Yeah.
And also the first time I have this exercise that when you come to meet for the first time, you have to find 5 sentences that are good, like, you know, inthrowers.
Yes.
That you find a sentence that you want to read this book. And yeah, absolutely. These two are both like, I want to read this story.
Yeah, thank you.
But when we talk about your first book, did you already know that you are going to be this magical realism writer? Like, did you have writers you loved who do this really well, or how did this happen that you chose the genre?
I definitely love the House of the Spirits, you know, and some of John Irving's works as well, where strange things are happening. And I think it's all based on that. I was born in the suburbs outside Copenhagen, and it's a pretty nothing. You should think that nothing magical happened there. It's just completely based. Kind of everything is built after the 1960s, and you look over at a sports, you know, hall somewhere. You know, just
yeah.
But my mom, she really could look into the future. I don't know how she did it. She was a total normal mom who wanted, just like Eva in the book. She loved it. She had this contradiction that in one way she was this almost like Grace Kelly type of person who just want to go into the expensive department stores and perfume and hair, and she was in a way a little bit superficial, or very much. She was a very beautiful woman, and she knew that she never had any trouble with love like I had. You know, she was just strolling along the world, and all the men just, oh, who's this? You know, so that was her life experience. But then she had a very lovely side of her that she didn't, you know, she didn't know she had. I mean, she knew she had it, but it was not, maybe she thought, what am I going to use this for? She would rather have perfume or something. But she could tell if somebody was going to die, if somebody was going to win the lottery. So the stories in the book, most of them are actually just my mom's predictions into the future. Mm-hmm. Like there's one where I don't want to say too much about the book if your readers are going to, or your countrymen are going to read it, but there is one place where she's lying on the grass, and she's dreaming about some ballet shoes, and that is a real story about my mom dreaming about these ballet shoes, and then many, and she dreams about there's a party, and that lawn belongs to our summer house. Now I put it all in that house. That's what the author do, of course. You have experiences, and then you put it in this house, you know. But it was our summer house, which was a remote place where nothing happened. It was just a little shed and a grass, you know, and she liked to lie down with a little martini or whatever. And then she dreamt about these ballet shoes in the parties. And many, many, many years later, she meets a guy in a department store, of course. And for some reason, they start talking about summer houses. And she says, this where we had it. And he said, oh, I know this place. And she says what street it is. It's a dirt road. It's not even a street, but he knew it. And he sat by himself. She didn't say anything to anybody about this. Only the family knew she had these abilities. And then he says, that's funny because do you know? And then was an actor in the 1890 or something. He says, when the ballet closed in Copenhagen, they always had, you know, all the ballet dancers went to his, because in that place it was a big estate, and he had all the ballet people dancing there, you know. So that's I almost still get goosebumps by it, because she just had that. She just saw things. And that's when you talk about the magical realism, that's actually it's so important for me, because sometimes people just want to talk about politics and retirement plans and everything is just a square. But the world is made of spirals. In our DNA is like that. We're not squares. Nothing is square in the universe except what we want to make square. So that's what I want to remind myself about and the readers about, that we live in a big spiral, that we are living in a place where maybe it's not so strange that we get some information, it's not really so strange in a way. And I want to say that, and I want to live by that, whether it's going to a church or just knowing that my mom could see these things. And she was the last person you would expect it from, because she didn't want to, she would rather have perfume, But so I think I was brought up with that. And when you live a place like that and you have it as a little child, you want to believe in this amazing love, which is the same thing, that there's something strange going on. You meet with, now I know as a very, very much adult person, that love comes from the love between friends and a dog and a child and an old lady in the supermarket, that it's not just one romantic thing, and that's in a way maybe also what she learns a little in the book, but I had always, since I was a child, Solomon's song, I wanted this romantic love to be as big as the universe. But that has turned out to be, it had its obstacles, just like the girls in the book, So I also wanted to say something about how love cuts into you in a way, and what you do to survive it and become stronger by it.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, absolutely. There were so many topics in here, and I also really enjoyed this part, like their sister's obsession with getting married. That it is something that in today's world is a bit absurd, because for a time, and even for their era, it was really understandable. Like you needed it for some comforts in life. But in today's world also, people are so excited to wear a white dress that they will do it with anyone just so if you have the day.
And 5 minutes later, you're divorced, It's just, So, they are obsessed with it, just like the grandfather in the book is obsessed with it, that you inherit. Sometimes you inherit dreams in your, not only your nearby family, your mother and your father, but also my real grandfather and grandmother, they were a little like that. My grandfather, he didn't live, he died when he was only 50 years old. And they were, he just loved classical music, and he was a very poetic. I think I would have liked, maybe he was the one that I look most like in my spirit, but I never met him. But he sort of sang his way through the DNA in me, so he's still a part of my dreams. And I think that's very powerful, how these dreams, they move on in a family. So a whole family can be obsessed with being artists or, stockbrokers or whatever, So, and what I think also it's a book about disappointments, because the whole thing, why there's a hippo, now we both have it. Hello. Why the hippo, and I didn't understand that for a long time. I just liked the story. The story is maybe a true story, which is really, really strange, but the story is something that my friend, he sent me a little cut out of a newspaper from the Far East. He was out traveling, and that's around, it's 20 years ago. And when I got that little, by the mail and everything, I put it on my refrigerator for a long time. I couldn't sing about it. That was I didn't know what to do about it. But that was a story about a circus dwarf, a Chinese circus dwarf. I don't want to say, you can, the readers can read what's happening, but that's actually, maybe it's just a tale, I don't know, but it was in the newspapers, and I just thought, okay, there's all this about that you I can say in the book that they want to, the circus, the grandmother's father, the great-great-grandfather, who's a complete slob and drunk, and they have this circus and it doesn't work, but he just want to order that elephant and then everything will work out. And I think everybody knows that feeling. If I get that job or that husband, or I'm going to Thailand, it's going to be freaking amazing. And then you get there and there are mosquitoes and it's hot and you just want to go home, or it's the wrong man, or it's the wrong job.
Yeah.
And, you know, the elephant is all the beautiful expectations we have. And then sometimes we end up with a hippopotamus that was sent, you know, shipped by mistake, you know. And life is full of something that was shipped by mistake that we have to deal with in a way. Yeah. So it's about expectations and it's about disappointments. When I was a musician, I had one point I have tried every route through these 25, 30 years. But at one point, I was actually a Grammy nominee, you know, which is, oh, wow, you know, I had 2 Grammy nominees, you know, for an album I made with a summer hit I had on the Danish radio, and I thought I was going to be, you know, that's my elephant. When this happens, I'm going to put up a circus, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't win any of them. And shortly after the whole deal went through, I didn't have a record label. I didn't even have my everything was just crashing down at the same time. And by chance, I met an American songwriter. I was just standing at a very, you know, what you call that, modest place, playing my guitar. And he said, I really like your songs. And he was not a big guy with a cigar or anything. He just knew a lot about the music stages in the States. And then we ended up touring for 4 years in the States in the car, playing. And if I had won that Grammy, all this never would have happened. I would have stayed home, had the label, done my thing. That could have been another life. Yeah. But I learned something from, I have my own power. I'm having this fairy tale in the States, which, fairy tale, and it was a lot of things. But when I came home, I started my own label, which no one did at the time. So what do you know about a hippopotamus and an elephant? You know, and I'm always occupied with that. What do you do with the expectations? Because most people don't get what they want. They get something else.
Yeah, that's amazing. I just, like, since the first sentence you said here, I've been like holding back tears because everything you're saying is resonating so much.
Oh, thank you. We can't give each other a hug but you'll get one. I hope to come back. I was there 3 years ago, so I hope to come back.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about Mr. Saite as well.
Yes, that was the second one. Sorry, I just got to clear my throat.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the first one is in your hometown in Copenhagen. And then the next one is Buenos Aires in Canada.
Really strange.
Yeah.
But because I lived many places. I lived in Canada when I was young. A lot of my Salomon songs with a lot of you know, aspirations to love. So I met somebody that when I was 19, 20, and I lived with him for 2 years, and one of the years was in Canada and Montreal. So I really love Canada. And then there was first it didn't happen there. It was taking place in Denmark for a year, you know, where I was writing in my nightgown, and I just bored. I just thought, something is wrong. It's something else. It's something about, because what I had with that, the only thing I had was, what am I going to write now? Because I put everything in the first book, everything about my family. It was like I was dried out. And it was the Corona.
Yeah.
My mom died. She was 92. And but I think he wanted also to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Like to be the head of everything with her, you know, gin tonic. She was not going to be a very strange lady who didn't remember who she was. So it was just the right time. But she was not, I mean, most of us only have one mom, and, you know, she was not there anymore. And I had a major heartbreak with one that I really had these aspirations for. Okay, something is going to happen now, and it didn't work out. And so I had my mom and that heartache, and then I had don't know what it's called, but it something a lost sight. Suddenly, I couldn't see on my right eye, so I started to get a little blind on the side, and I got an operation, but I couldn't see anything for 3 months, and they didn't know if I was going to see again. So it was the corona where everybody had this, on, and then I had the pirate's eye on top of it, So it was one of the saddest times, because it was so, but it's a good place to write from. That's a crazy thing, you're sitting there with a pirate's eye, and you can't even see everybody's faces were hidden, and it was just a terrible time. But out of that grew something about my mother. I didn't know it was going to be about my mother again. Apparently, of course, a mom makes a big impression on you. But I thought it was just going to be about this lady from Buenos Aires who was crazy about shoes. And what I had in the beginning, where I didn't know my own story, I knew had three things. And one was that a girl once told me a story about her great-grandmother who was born premature, and she was put in a shoebox and placed by the close to the fire, almost like, I don't know what you call that, but like what infants do now, like a don't know,
incubator or something.
Yes, exactly. And I always was so amazed about being put in a shoebox when you were a kid. Would you be really obsessed about shoes? That was what my writer in myself thought. So I thought, I'm going to create a character who is crazy about shoes and crazy about dancing shoes. And of course, she's going to live in Buenos Aires. I haven't been to Buenos Aires, but I did my research. And so I knew that. And then I knew that it was going to be about a sailor's home with 24 rooms, just like a Christmas calendar, that you could open every room, just like at Christmas, and you could look in and see who's living on this room. And sometimes it's a very lonely soul, because I had a patch on my eye, and my heart was broken, and my mother was dead. So I knew about living in this little one you can open. And I have all my friends who have their lovely stories and their agony, and so I wanted to write a story about not being alone, because I only have a sister left, so I don't have really any family left. I didn't have kids when I was young, so it's sort of and many of my friends have grandkids now, and they have these huge branches of families.
Yeah.
But I wanted to write a story about how you can get a family without having a family. That you can chop up, you can put branches together, and that is what that sailor's home is going to represent. And it's going to be on an island. That's what I knew, because then the waves can come crashing in. It's life. You can't do anything about it. Houses falls off the island. That's just life. What are you going to do with it? And first it was in Denmark, but then I thought, no, I want to do it more adventurous, something, put it back in 1927 where my mother was born. I know her story, so I can follow that in my heart. And then I remembered that a lot of the people, there are some family who lived on Palermo Road, and the people who didn't live there anymore in 1929, they immigrated to Canada on an island that I always heard about when I was a kid. And I thought, you got to use that. And that island is called Prince Edward Island. It's actually the same island as Anne from Green something. Green, yeah. She's from that island. But that island has a bridge, and I can't have a bridge, because then the main character, Fabiola, she want to run back to the mainland. She doesn't want to live. So it had to be an island so remote where the ferry always crashes, because again, that is life sometimes, that you have an island like these little snow, these little ones that you can shake. You look into it, and in there you live. It's like a family, and again, another kind of a family. You can't escape your family in a way. You have to deal with the other sailors that you don't like, or these ones who believe in God, and these ones who don't, and these fishermen who are too nasty towards her daughter, and all these, you can't escape it because it's just life, and you can't make a fairy from it. So all that I knew, but what I didn't really know was that it became so much about my own relationship with my mom, in a way. My mom, I mean, it's a completely independent character. Fabiola from Buenos Aires, she's her own thing. I almost think she's alive somewhere, you know. That's how I feel her. But my mother had that she loved to dance, and she was an amazing character, a person who showed me how to live and how to survive. But she didn't want to hold my hand too much, and if I was sad, she was get it over with, you know. So she learned it. It was it's kind of a love, but it's not a complete love. And then there's a woman on the island that she meets who has this sailor's house. Bethlehem, which I liked again this, that you take this faith and believe and put in it. I really like that. She has a different love, and that's almost like my aunts. I had two aunts who lived together, and they were never married, and those were my mothers as well. So I had three mothers, and I put those together into Maggie from the sailor's house. And she had this with a big apron and lots of cookies, and come here, you can sit here forever, you know. And my mom, let's go dancing, you know. But she also, if I had only had my aunt's or Maggie's love, then I would probably just be sitting on somebody's lap still. I wouldn't have gone to the States, or, you know. So I'm an advocate for saying there are a lot of types of love. And we got to celebrate. We can't just be angry at our mother. There's so many books about how angry you are at your mother. And I can be, because damn, she was selfish sometimes. But I also think she gave me the perseverance. She gave me the sense of humor, a lot of presence, you know. And I want to celebrate that as much as I can. So it was about two types of love from a mother, and about friendships, because the girl... she's called something else in your language, I think. What is the main character is called in your language? Well, it's also another book we're talking about. So, but our main character, she gets a friend who is the daughter on that island, and so it's also about friendships. How much I looked for romantic love in my life, and I had a lot of beautiful romantic love in my life, but also a lot of crashing down in a way. But the friendships with my friends that I've known for 100 years, those I can, you know, they're just there. So it's also about friendships. And it's about, which I didn't know, it's about movies. So because I thought something is going to happen on that island. We can't just live there forever. And I thought, who is going to come? And then one day, something just wrote Mr. Saito, and I thought, who is that? It was just like, it's a little crazy. It's like the book was always there. What is this called? David Lynch. He once said, you know, what do you call that? Movie director of Twin Peaks. Yeah. He said, in every artist's life, there's a room just beside you. And that room has everything. It's a jigsaw, a puzzle that's completely finished, but you can't get into that room. And unfortunately, they only send one piece, you know, through the door out of it. You know, that is how I write. I don't write with plot cards. I'm the David Lynch kind of a type, brain dwarf somewhere. And there's something being sent in, and then Mr. Saito was suddenly sent in. He doesn't turn up, you know, before the 150 pages. And it's a strange, in a way, it's a strange title, because it's not about Mr. Saito. But I like the title because Mr. Saito is almost, he's not God, but he's the one who facilitates our dreams. This strange thing that sometimes inspiration, whatever, that sometimes comes in every spring and gives you a piece of life and say, you know, Lita, that's not her name, because it means something else in your country.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember.
She said it can't be that name.
Yeah.
Anyway, Her name is she's called Carmen
Yeah.
Lita, and her experience that she becomes a movie, one who cuts movies, and suddenly understood what is this book about. It's about how do you cut your life? What do you want to say? Do you want to say, well, this failed and this failed and nobody ever thinks about me? Do you want to cut that life? Or do you want to say, yes, I've had, and I couldn't see, my mother died, my heart was broken, Corona was there, but out of that came new friendships and new love and a new book that was suddenly sold together with this one to 27 languages, and people, write to me from Romania or France or Spain, and I went to Mallorca and I saw my book standing there, and she says, yeah, we'll get them, 20 at a time. They're just, what? How did that happen?
Wow.
So I think my message is that no matter what happens to you, I mean, I also had 10 years ago, I had cancer, completely no hair left. I mean, but I came out of it. And so many people have that. It's not up to talk about my own disease there, but it's just to say, I know that everybody who's watching there, they had their own thing, divorces or pain or death, or we have so much that we have to go through, but we don't see it on the Facebook and the Instagram and the Botox, and that we sometimes we can't even be human beings anymore,
Yeah.
And it takes a long time to get over something for some of us.
Yeah.
And I say that's okay. That it's a little like starfish in my book, Mr. Saito, that somebody tells her that starfish, if they cut out 2 limbs, they have to go to the depth of the sea, and lie there in the darkness for a very long time. And eventually 2 little arms will emerge, And that's how I live, because now I know that they are coming, but it just takes a while, and that's okay.
Yeah. What you were saying about families and like 2 mothers, 3 mothers, and so on. I think this is a really important theme in today's world, that less and less people are getting married, less and less people are having children, and still, like my generation, I'm 41 now. My generation still is, worried about it. Like this is a problem. How come I don't have kids? How come I never found anyone?
Yeah.
But it's more and more and more and more. And my child, I was a single mom, and my child, when she was 3 or 4, I had a really amazing neighbor who's also a writer and our type of person, and we were celebrating Christmas together. And then my child said, "Can I have a photo with my mother's?" And I was just like, "That's amazing!"
Because she's already in the it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
She knows that instinctively,
Yeah. And last summer we were in the countryside, and we were having dinner outside in the sun. It was like midsummer, and so there was my friend, there was me, then was my new love, then was my child, and then my other friend's child. And one of them, I don't know, like my friend or my new partner, said that this is like a patchwork quilt family.
Yes.
You can just take these beautiful pieces of fabric and you sew them into. And then recently I was talking to them about it, that this image that one of you said, this patchwork quilt family, and both of them were like, "It's the first time I'm hearing about it." Yeah, I've never heard of it.
No, but it is that, and I think actually it was when I was over in your country to make that was when it came out 3 years ago, no more, 3 years ago, yeah. And somebody said, "What is your book actually about?" And in 1 second I thought, what is it about? But then my mouth just said, connection. Yeah. It's all about connections. I'm always looking for connections in a way to sew this fabric together in a way. So that is just that's what we got to do in a world where a lot of people live in their own apartment, or something broke down and something new, and you can always, the thing that you can create your own families, but also that the family you have, while you have it, don't just say you don't understand anything, no, try to contain it in a way. And of course also be mad about what you're going to be mad about. You're not an angel, but also say, yes, they did that. That's no good. But they also did this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got this book when it first came out, and then I didn't start reading it straight away. Then one day I needed a birthday present for somebody. Then I gifted this. Then I bought it again, and then I gifted it again. And so now 3 years later, I finally read it. But I have bought this book like 5 times, and I finally read it now.
That's funny. But that's the thing. That's, you sit there in a nightgown and think, maybe I could write a line more. Maybe I should try on one page. And now we're talking together, and that's some years ago, that it came out. But that something keeps on coming back like the waves on the island. Something comes back, and I'm so grateful and humbled by that. If I can touch some people in my own country and other countries, it's just yeah, that's amazing.
It is amazing. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Welcome. Say hello to your book club. Yes. And I hope to see you in real life. Otherwise, I'll send you some pigeons instead. There's pigeons in this book.
Okay, so from today on, every time I meet the pigeon, I'm like, is that Annette's pigeon?
It was me. Good.
Excellent. And I'm very excited for your new book. I can't wait for it to be finished.
We'll talk again, I have a feeling.
Yeah. Amazing. Good. Okay, so all the best, and put back your nightgown and go back writing.
That's good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.